let's just talk a little bit about the positives that have come out of this Bessemer thing, and let's talk about the PRO Act. And I mean, I think a lot of people are saying like this, at the very least, this shows why you need a PRO Act. I don't know that the PRO Act would have made a difference in this specific case, but
it would have.
It would have. So,
yes, it absolutely would have, because Amazon would not have had the right even to go to the board to challenge the size of the unit. In fact, Amazon, the employers are cut out. The original intent of the National Labor Relations Act, and then it was revised in an anti-union direction by Taft-Hartley in 1947. The original intent in 1935 was that this is workers self-organizing. This is their organization. Like the Chamber of Commerce is the company's organization. Like, companies don't have a right to even interfere. So they wouldn't have been able to interfere. They wouldn't have been able to argue that the size of the unit is 4 times. There would have been, according to the PRO Act, like they would have considered it. The board would have considered the union's petition in like 8 days, I think. And then there would have been a vote really quickly. I don't even know if the union could have won that vote. Maybe it would have, maybe it wouldn't have. But there wouldn't have been all this anti-union captive audience meetings, all the stuff that Amazon did and companies do. It just really would have happened really quickly.
You can't even requisition the $25 million that they were going to spend in 8 days, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah, right, exactly. So it would have had an enormous effect. The question is how to do it when you don't have a mass upsurge from the rank and file, the way what happened in 1934 led to the National Labor Relations Act of 1935, which, by the way, FDR was totally reluctant about. He had blocked it in the middle of 1934. This was like an unclear thing. Is this going to help me? I don't know. I'm not crazy about unions. But then all hell broke loose. There's a huge strike wave, a militant strike wave, including deaths. I mean, San Francisco had a general strike. 4 people died. 50,000 workers went through the streets, which is a lot of workers back then in San Francisco, with the caskets. Okay, huge fights all over. Ohio, Minnesota, truckers. So that pushed Congress and FDR off of his ledge. And so I said, yeah, okay, I'll let this go through and sign it in 35. So we're not going to have that this time. I feel safe in predicting. So I have to figure out a way, and sort of laborism is the way, sort of policy entrepreneurs who are kind of laborists, who sort of pushed Biden to do what he did, to sort of get to 50 Dems. And then we're now short, I think 4 or 5, to pass the PRO Act. So the plus here, to get back to that point you're making, the plus is, yes, all this coverage, it's true. That's why it's a complicated question regarding what the union strategy. It's true, if the union had pulled back, which I think on balance they should have done, because I think defeats beget defeat. But the plus side of them not doing it is that we got all this incredible coverage by media, both mainstream and leftist media, about Amazon and about these workplaces. And that coverage may help drive the PRO Act forward. So who knows? Maybe this terrible defeat will lead to something bad. I tend to think that terrible defeats are terrible defeats until something good happens, but maybe something good will happen out of this.
I mean, like you say, the Biden video is going to be deployed at various times throughout the year, and it could have
absolutely
been the context surrounding Amazon. You know, when Jeff Bezos, I know he's not necessarily the chairman now, but when he comes out and he's, I can't even remember how many billions of dollars he's made over the past year.
I think it's like 110 to 180 or something like that, maybe 70 billion, I think.
I mean,
who knows? Who's counting?
Exactly. At that point. Well, I mean, is there, we just have a couple minutes here, but is there anything that Biden can do short? I mean, are there not stuff he could do, executive action, that would at the very least, maybe, I don't know, PRO Act light?
He can do stuff. I don't think this speaks to a larger issue, but it would be a tremendous model, and it would help several million workers. This is something that labor has sought for about 10 years now. He can do something with companies who have contracts with the federal government,
right?
Which I think involves about 3 million workers, but I might be totally wrong about that, so I have to be confirmed. But obviously that's not every company, but it's a lot of companies. I mean, he can basically say that these companies have to like be neutral, not fight unionization. Like let their, come up with in order to get a union contract, a contract from the federal government to do business with the federal government, they have to permit unionization. In other words, they can't mandate it, but they have to let their voters free of fear and favor try it. So no captive audience meetings, no delay, no try to leverage it, no telling the workers constantly, even having bathroom messages in their face that the union sucks. He can do that. Those are executive orders that we know are before Biden's people. They were before Obama's people.
Right.
Years ago. And somebody like Jared Bernstein, who's a key advisor to Biden, both then and now, understands that stuff well. I think Ron Klain, who's been great in terms of working with the left, is probably the most powerful White House chief of staff since James Baker, understands that. So that's a key thing he can do. But the big thing is to leverage the PRO Act. Now he's trying to get the PRO Act to come through the infrastructure stuff. So that's attached to the infrastructure. I don't know if the parliamentarian will let that happen, right. But that was actually a pretty clever move, because then you only need 50 to pass the whole thing. And is Joe Manchin really good? Who is not a sponsor, by the way, West Virginia Joe,
The only senator or Democrat.
I don't think that's, technically, what I've read, I think there's 4. I think Angus King also isn't. I think Sinema isn't. We'll have to check. I think there's 4 or 5, but they're almost there, but not quite. But yes, he's one of them for sure.
And Kelly. Well, all right, listen, we're out of time, but Richie.
And Kelly, yes.
The piece is in Jacobin. We will link to that at majority.fm. Really appreciate your taking the time to walk us through this. And hopefully we'll have you on sooner than 8 years from now.
Yeah, we still have to go back to Fortress Unionism.
I know.
Sam. We'll do that in 2029. So
fair enough.
All right.